So, on today's podcast, I'm going to talk about the MVP in business and how to use that in a business sense. Because I recently learned about what that means, but I realized that this is something that I've pretty much been doing without knowing. And just going to dive into other things as well that I've realized that I feel was important to talk about and useful to share. And I just mainly hope people understand what I am talking about. But anyways, and the MVP, what does it stand for? It stands for minimum viable product. And pretty much basically what it means is just having some sort of product going, having something going in the business concept that is better than nothing to roll with, that people could start recognizing. So in other words, you may not be fully equipped, you may not be fully funded, fully resourced, maybe you may not be fully ready for the unexpected, but you at least have the basic things down to pretty much start getting eyes on it. And so it's almost as if you're running a concept already, but anyways. But the point I want to make with bringing this up is that it's a good habit, in my opinion, to go with the flow a little bit and just rolling with the ball as it goes. And literally, if you have a good idea in mind that you feel that it's just a very solid idea and you thought about it and it just seems like something you're happy about and it just looks promising, sounds promising, that that you pretty much get something going with it and just immediately start layering and layering what you need to do. Whatever the first step is, you layer that in. That'll be the first layer. And then as things evolve, there'll just be so many layers added that you pretty much created something bigger than you thought. And the reason I feel like that's good to know is because I feel like sometimes things could feel overwhelming, and whatever project you may have, ideas, dreams, it could seem so far-fetched. It could feel impossible to reach. But in knowing the fact that you can roll with something even at its early stages and get excited off that could really motivate you to do what you need to do more sooner than later. And not only that, but you could just be happy about what you're doing and things can start gaining traction for you. And so with whatever idea it is that you have, instead of thinking about big scales, just think about the smallest scale possible. And with whatever money you have, just think about the smallest amount you could spend that makes an impact. If you focus on the least you can do that makes an impact, it makes a great difference. It's like reverse psychology, reverse engineering the process. So yeah, you could do the least you can do, the least you could spend, by making sure that it makes an impact that matters, that could start, jumping some hurdles, then things will start to evolve even more. You'll see that things will start evolving even more. And so, yeah, just think about that. Think about the MVP, the minimum viable product. Think about the least that you can do, the least that you can spend, because to be honest, there's actually that's just a good idea to talk about, a good concept that fits into what everyone shares emotionally and mentally is, with the economy and just the way things is, working hard could be difficult. Hard work may not be pleasant. So the idea of doing the least you can do makes sense, and spending the least you can to get things going makes sense. So it's perfect. It just makes more sense to make sure that the least that you do and the least that you spend makes an impact for you. It's the punch that you need. It's what jumps the hurdles. And so that is what could definitely get you to start gaining traction. And I feel like that is where a lot of people feel that they are lost or behind, because it may not be the case, but since things feel very far-fetched, you could just burn out. Your motivation, your excitement, your energy could just completely deplete. And then you can just be in the other state of mind where you're not really thinking about it as much. And instead you're just thinking about how crappy the day is. That makes a big difference on how much traction you could start making. And not only traction, but how happy you are. And the whole point of this personal journey that you may be taking to succeed is to feel good and have more energy, and to have the energy to start doing things and do more. But that's that with MVP. I think I explained it pretty good. Another topic I wanted to talk about that is still relevant to everything I was saying, and in this modern time, is that if you are very good with a computer and understanding, the basics of a computer, and just understanding how different websites work, like tool-like websites, and learning how to use like useful things within a social media, and you know how to use a camera, for example, and you know how to take good videos, take good photos, and you know how to use the editing software, and you know how to do all those things, and you know how to maybe use Photoshop, and you know how to just use a bunch of different things. It could really help you. And I personally do not know how to do coding. I am not a developer. I'm not a software engineer. But if you can know how to do most of those things I explained, and you're savvy with it, you are quick with it, you understand it easily, and you know how to use it, and you can manage all those things and use them together, then in my opinion, you are valuable to yourself. even more because you can do a lot more for yourself. There's like more potential for you. It's almost like the mirror side, the irony of the whole situation with a business hiring a software engineer, developer, and paying them a lot of money, and paying them a lot because there's a high demand for it, because things are getting complicated, and most businesses, they want to have their own program, they want to have their own sophisticated website and app system application going on, and they want to have all these crazy security things and just make things look and operate very unique for that competitive edge in the market. That's the reason they're going to be looking for them and then paying them a lot. And it's because it's useful to, as a business, maybe hire a software engineer. I mean, I never needed to hire one, but based on the research I've looked up, I can imagine a business like Amazon needing a software engineer, or a developer, or someone that's an expert in coding. It makes sense, especially when they're trying to use more technology, and they need to do troubleshooting, and they need that website to be the ultimate website, and they need the apps, they needed special, they needed everything. So that is a technical, handy, very useful person, and they're an engineer, and so they had to go to college for that. But they're getting paid almost like $300,000+ a year plus bonuses, and that's what they do. And so with you knowing how to do, like, if you're not a software engineer or developer and you know nothing about coding, but you're good at using and understanding like program tools, like maybe a music program, whatever program that may be. Maybe if you're a writer and you're trying to make your own book, well, maybe you understand how to use the editing software to make a book, and you know how to make an online ebook, and you understand how to use all that, and you understand how to just do a lot of different things within it, like marketing, understanding what to do next within the website, to do other things. And if you know how to if you have a Facebook, for example, and you make a Facebook page, that's also another example of being savvy and being technically inclined in some sense, because at that point you're going to be using Facebook for more than just having a profile picture, just having just a regular profile. You're going to be taking the extra step to have a profile page, and you're learning about how to use that, and because there's going to be a lot to learn when you make a profile page. You're going to realize that you may want to have a good brand name. You're going to realize you're going to be lacking on content to post, and you want to start doing that. You're going to realize that you don't really have a good logo, and so with a Facebook page, you learn the ins and that, and all of a sudden you're going to grow with that, and so that helps. And if you also learned how to maybe use what do you call it? If you know how to use Adobe Editor, for Adobe Photoshop, and let's say you bought the program, that expensive program to have it. And you learn how to use it. This is all to your benefit at that point. At that point, even though you don't know how to do software developing and doing all those complicated things, because you know these things, these other things that takes, a technically inclined mind, you're going to be just as valuable, in my opinion. And at that point, you can do a lot more for yourself. I mean, think about it. If you have a great camera and you know how to use it and take great stuff, and you know how to get better equipment and what equipment to get, and you understand everything about it and understand everything about the editing in both the photo editing and the video editing, then you can start making high quality content. All of a sudden, you can start doing something with high quality content. Maybe you could do your own photography thing. Maybe you could just make good content for yourself and start getting more views because of the quality and stuff like that. And so that's more for your benefit. Because if you think about that example, let's say a high-end brand like Gucci, for example. I mean, I don't know how Gucci operates, but let's just say that they have a specialized photographer for their modeling of their brands. Well, they most likely hired this photographer. They hired someone that knows all about photography and just makes everything happen. And so they probably hired a photographer and they're paying him top dollar just to do photography and do the video editing. And so that's Gucci hiring a photographer. Now just imagine you just knowing how to do photography like that person that got hired, and you know how to do it well for yourself. Then at least for yourself, you could start making big things happen. That's just a benefit for you. And then so on and so forth with other things, like, learning how to edit videos and learning how to post it on YouTube, and just being good at that whole process of coming up with good content, learning how to use editing software to make it pop more, and adding effects, and then maybe even evolving to using green screen. That's another technical thing that can give some pop, in my opinion. All these things, you want to realize if you learn these things, whatever tool, program it is, it's going to be something that's to your advantage, and you probably may not realize it, but if you know how to use all these things, then in my opinion, you are useful. Because, if you know how to make a piece of content, and you know how to save that content, and you know how to extract that content, and you know how to share that content, and you know what to do if you made a mistake, how the ins and outs of the buttons and what things do to get you going. That's all, in my opinion, a technical effort that you're putting down, a high-end technical effort, because not a lot of people may know how to use a Photoshop program. That may be difficult for a lot of people. Not a lot of people know how to work a DSLR camera and know the ins and outs to take great photos and videos and do the whole editing. Some people may find that complicated, especially knowing how to get the equipment and just knowing about it. And so at that point, because you're doing these things, that's valuable to you. And so the more things you can learn, the like that in that technical sense, the more you'd be as valuable as if you were, in my opinion, like a professional software engineer. The only difference is that there's a market pool for software engineers to hop on because of college. They have a degree and they go to the jobs, and they show their degree, they show what they understand, and then they likely get hired. And so, you can be lucky to get hired as a high-end photographer for a company if you are making it happen already, doing your thing, posting it on social media, focusing on the quality, and just shooting extravagant things, shooting extravagant videos, and just showing people that you can really make these high-end things. Eventually, you start getting a level of recognition, and it could start with your friends and out, and then referrals start coming in. So with all that being said, I think what you could pull out from all that I said is that it is in your best interest to learn how to use these things. And it's even better, I'm not gonna lie, there's gonna be a little advantage towards the people that hop on these tools and immediately grab onto it, and immediately everything feels simple, and they just know how to do this and that, and everything just connects together. And that, in my opinion, that is very good. If you could be like that, because at that point, if you're being creative and you can make that easy for yourself, then you can start making things happen, and then you can do other things. And if you're someone that has a difficulty understanding certain programs or certain things, then you just got to focus on the least you can do with whatever plan you want. And then with the least you can do, let that accumulate into another moment in time where you want to take it to the next level. And at that point, when you want to do something to the next level, it's going to be more easier, in my opinion, to land on such tool program and then learn it and figure that it's something you want to use, because you're trying to do something different and you thought about it and you already did the least you could do. So now this is the next step that you can do, that because you are more in line with what you're doing and you already started something, then it only makes sense that you evolve now. So it's just going to be easier at that point if you land on learning a tool program or whatever extra thing that could help you. Doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be more easier when you evolve into what you're doing and then land into another moment in time to utilize a service, a program, or just pretty much overall maybe spending some sort of money to get things rolling. And so that combination is crucial, in my opinion. That combination of doing the least you could do to have something going, and then adding the feature of investing some sort of money in it makes a big difference. An example of investing some kind of money, it could be anything. It could be, if you are into the healthy stuff, maybe you're investing in buying the products to showcase, to build awareness and get things going. Another example is you're buying clothes to model off. that's just an example of an investment because you adding more content variety, you being creative. Another investment could be just buying new equipment that you need. Maybe you need a fax machine, maybe you need a scanner, maybe you need a printing press, maybe you need yarn, maybe you need cotton, maybe you need food ingredients because you're going to do cooking, whatever it is. When you invest some kind of money into a thing that you're trying to do, a project, idea, that's when, in my opinion, I realize it indicates a few things. It indicates that you're being serious because, you're spending money now on something that's more different than treats and just paying bills. Now you're doing something extra to make something happen. So it indicates that you're taking it seriously, and it indicates that, it indicates more of a direction now because, when you're willing to spend money, that is, in my opinion, the extra step. Because without the money, you're doing something. But when you spend some kind of money, you have, look at it this way. If you had to spend money for something, it's because you felt like you lacked something or you didn't have something that could benefit. And so it only took spending the money to acquire this new feature, this new ability, this new look. And so that's how you have to see it. And most likely, when you spend the money, it's just going to improve the quality of everything, the quality of the consistency, and so on. And so, if you can learn how to do all those things I said, and, maybe I missed out on a few things, like drawing could be another example. You could just be so good at drawing that next thing you know, you are drawing great designs for God knows what company. It's just the fact that you were so good at it that someone just could no longer deny, or someone just couldn't say anything but that you were great. It just got to the point where you were so good and that just someone just pretty much said, hey man, we're going to reach out. And that to me makes sense. And so if you look at it like that, it could all make sense. And then another point I like to make is that the more things make sense, the more it makes sense. And so it just, everything could constantly exist, making sense. And then any move that you make makes sense. And doing the least you can do beats doing nothing. Is the least you can do. I'm sure anyone's down to know about the least they can do. You know what I'm saying? Because it helps. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, is the MVP, the minimal viable product, the least you could put out in any way, the least you could market and start doing to, start creating value into the open market, into just the open, broad world. And pretty much not worrying about what stage you're on or what kind of equipments you're lacking, but just getting some sort of move on. Maybe you don't have a great camera right now. Well, you could just start with your phone. Just start with your phone, with whatever you have that just can make it happen in some way. It's better than nothing. And so you're going to start, when you start with when you start whatever you're going to start, always think about starting at the basement level of progress. The basement level of progress could be, it's just stage one. Just call it stage one. You don't have to call it the basement level, but it could just seem like the basement level. You're really starting with a huge lack of experience, knowledge, confidence, but you are at least doing more something than nothing. And so that's important. So, looking at it like that and understanding that you can bring value with the certain things that you may have not realized, that you are technically savvy in some things, knowledgeable in some things, you know how to use. Maybe you don't think about it like that because you know how to use these tool programs easily. You know how to navigate certain things easily. And maybe you never thought about it like that. But that's why I wanted to bring it up. And that's why I brought up that example of how much software engineers are getting paid and stuff like that. It's just the point that there's this high demand, right, in needing these types of people and skills. And so it's only because they know these particular things. And it's not like they know everything. They're just specifically into software engineering. They're not selling anything. They're just working and tweaking things and, making things look nice when on the screen and stuff like that. And so you got to look at it like that too, is that when you know how to use Photoshop and you're really good at it, you should think about it how maybe a high-end brand, they probably hired a Photoshop person that's really good, with a degree, and they're paying them top dollar because they have this degree and they know this technical program tool that is actually useful. And so, it's very useful to the company. I mean, why would you think they would hire this person? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they want that edge. They want that cutting edge, that extra punch in the market. Looking more presentable by having more quality, interesting looking images that no one's ever seen, because the way it was photoshopped and, cleaned up, and the way the text looks like it's floating around, it gives you a 3D look. All that could just be eye-catching, and it makes you look even more awesome, especially for marketing. And so they're going to be paying that person top dollar for that, just for that. And that's all they're doing. And so let's say you on your own, you really know how to use these features. Whatever program it is, doesn't have to be for photoshopping. You are pretty much going to be at that same level of skill and value as that person that got hired for that. It's just that, the only difference is going to be is that maybe if you apply for a job, maybe you may not get it because you don't have a degree, or maybe you may get it and not even get paid the top dollar you want. But the point I'm making is that at least for yourself, if you know how to use this Photoshop and you are into the business side of things and you are also creative, you can just use Photoshop to your advantage to do big marketing things. You know what I'm saying? And so you can almost treat yourself as your own business that doesn't need to hire this Photoshop person, or doesn't need to hire this photographer and video editor person, because you already know these things, and you can literally just help yourself. And so at that point, you're going to be like a business that's even more affordable to itself, because you know these things, and all these things seem so easy to you. And so you can just start using those skills and abilities to boost yourself, boost a brand, and combine all this stuff, and everything can just work together. And then let's say you want to take things to the next level. Let's say you, as a fitness trainer, whatever you do on Instagram, maybe you are a nutritionist, whatever you do. Let's say you want to take it to the next level, and you invest some money to make an app where people can go to and just, get what they need from that. Then if you're in that course and you do that, then that would be how you would be upgrading and getting to a new level, because you're doing these particular things. And so that's just another way where it just makes sense. It would make sense if you do that. Not a lot of people would do that. Not a lot of people think about doing that. But you did. And so in your world, this makes sense. You're doing this. This connects with that, equals that. And so it just makes perfect sense. And so, yeah, all that being said, if with whatever idea you have, you could just, in some way, shape, or form, start moving the ball a bit by doing the least you can do. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. It just felt interesting to share. It's just to realize, the biggest thing I realized it's just the fact that, instead, like, for example, you may always be wondering how exactly you would be successful one day. And you're always thinking, maybe being wealthy, but you never think about what exactly you could be doing. And so I think the last thing you want to do in that wonder is completely miss out on the fact that you know how to do something, you know how to use something, and that if you use it a certain way, it could really be powerful for you. You could definitely grow something from the middle out. And so instead of thinking so much about how you may get there, and, thinking so much in a negative way, you could just realize that, you know how to do something, and they have something going, and just literally acknowledge what that thing you know how to use is, and that you think you're good at, and just make it grow from the in out. Because this is something that you know what to do. And then things just make even more sense. And so the biggest thing you can focus on is making sure things make sense. Every next step, even with the money you're going to invest in any small way, just think about, the least you could do and having it make sense. The more it makes sense, the more you're going to really be into committing to it, because it's going to make it grow. If you're going to invest in, start printing your own t-shirts, then That's just exactly what's going to happen. But with whatever it is, something's going to move, especially when you start even spending $5 for new pencils. That's just an indication of things adding on. Things start to look the part in your life as you start having more pencils now for your artwork, and now your room is filled with notebooks, papers, and canvas and paint. And you just invested in this. You bought this product a few hours ago. It just starts to literally make things look the part. You know what I'm saying? So that's important to know, is that you have some sort of skill, some sort of passion, and instead of worrying so much about what you don't have now that you'd like to have, you can just realize that you know how to do something that maybe other people don't know how to do well. Doesn't matter what it is. And then you can just start making your own thing going, get your own traction, get your own journey going, and next thing you know, you can just be living one of the best lives as some sort of person with a degree, and all you ever did was just take what you know and just fly with it and just be more awesome with it. So hopefully today's podcast was inspiring. Hopefully everything I said made sense. And it was just mainly about realizing what you can do already and just figuring out ways to connect things in the right place and having things make sense. So that's the end of the podcast, and goodbye.